Hello everyone. Last month I promised that I'd do a Luka V4X unboxing video, and I'm sorry this is so late. I haven't been feeling well, but I'm finally here to share our wonderful princess with you all. I've also been having some technical difficulties which I'll get to later. If you have not watched my Yuzuki Yukari V4 Starter Pack unboxing video, you can check that out by clicking here. It gives you an idea of what a typical Vocaloid package contains, as well as the Vocaloid editor itself. Before getting to Luka's package, let me explain how I ordered her. AtH software will directly ship to overseas customers, but Krypton Future Media will not. So in order to get Luka's box, I had to use a forwarding service. A forwarding service is a business in Japan, since we're talking about Japanese products, which will receive the item and then ship it to wherever you live, since many Japanese companies won't ship outside of Japan. They act as middlemen to help you get your items, for a small fee of course. The forwarding service I used to purchase Luka was White Rabbit Express, also known as White Rabbit Japan. I've only used them once, so I can't exactly give them some sort of seal of approval, but they were very easy and simple to use, and I had no problems, so give White Rabbit Express a look if you are considering ordering Japan exclusive items. The only thing in the box was Luka V4X, which is just fine by me. In the background you can see my mint in box Luka Figma model. It's pretty much the only piece of Vocaloid merchandise I own. People get crazy with collections and such, and it's certainly difficult fighting that urge, but I've managed to stay on top of it so far. As for Luka V4X's box, my gosh, it is beautiful. I wish my camera was better, but trust me, it really is glorious. I was very tempted to leave it unopened, but that would make for quite a boring unboxing video. So let's get to work. The first thing we find is a large fold-out pamphlet with setup tips on one side and advertisement for SonicWire's digital instrument plugins on the other. Much of the remaining papers are printed on what feels like gray newspaper paper, and they cover installation of Luka and Piapro Studio, as well as legalese regarding usage of Luka's character design and the Vocaloid brand. And finally, an end-user license agreement. How exciting! There is also a little orange card which has serial numbers printed on it. If your box didn't come with a little orange card, you would probably be very confused and or very angry. On top of the DVDs is this thick cardboard placard. It's almost like an oversized drink coaster. I'm really not sure what it's for. For some reason, the DVDs are included in 3 separate frosted plastic clamshell cases. The DVDs are quite good looking too, with nice mirror-like cutouts of Luka. Finally, there is an instruction booklet for Piapro Studio and a pamphlet for Studio One's digital audio workstation application and other products. Popping in the first DVD, we see directories to install Piapro Studio, a documents folder which has Piapro Studio manual PDFs, Luca's V4X breath sounds as WAV files, and the VoiceBanks installer. Luca V4X can take up to 20 GB of hard drive space if you install all of her VoiceBanks. Luca has 4 VoiceBanks, hard and soft for Japanese, and straight and English soft for English. But the Japanese VoiceBanks can be installed twice, with EVAC capabilities and without. So if you don't plan to use her EVAC functionality, or if you're really hurting for disk space, you can simply install the standard versions of those VoiceBanks and ignore the EVAC versions. Installing all of the VoiceBanks takes a little while, but thankfully you only need to input one serial number to activate the bunch. After you've installed the VoiceBanks, the next step is to install Piapro Studio, and this is where I ran into some issues. If you're a digital musician, then you probably wouldn't break a sweat, but because I'm not a musician, and because all of my installation instructions and setup guides were in Japanese, I was flying blind. Piapro Studio isn't a standalone application like the Vocaloid editor. It doesn't have its own executable to run. It's actually a virtual instrument plugin, which must be initialized from within a DAW, or digital audio workstation, like Ableton Live or Reason, which can cost anywhere from $100 to much more. Since a DAW is a requirement for Piapro Studio, Krypton Future Media made a deal with PreSonus, a company which develops and sells digital music hardware and software, including the Studio One DAW. Krypton Vocaloids that include Piapro Studio, which I think includes all of the V3 and V4 releases up to this point, with the exception of Miku English, include a serial for Studio One Artist Piapro Edition, an OEM version of the Studio One Artist DAW, which normally sells for $100 by itself. So you get a free DAW, which is nice, but the installation for it isn't on any of the DVDs. The Japanese instructions point you to a Japanese website to get what you need, but luckily you can accomplish the same thing in English at the PreSonus site. Create an account there, and then input your serial number in the product registration pop-up. It looks like the serial number won't fit, but it will accept it. Then you'll be able to download Studio One APE, as well as some free digital instrument plugins, and even watch tutorial videos. Install and activate Studio One, blah blah blah. Before I show you how to load Piapro Studio, I should probably update it. The version that ships with Luka V4X is Piapro Studio 2.0, and the software has received a few updates since then, with the current version as of this video being 2.004. So let's go ahead and install that and... So yeah, I tried to install the update about 5 times and it would just crash halfway through. Though I did finally manage to get the auto update to install correctly, there is a manual updater you can download, but it's only available to users on SonicWire who have registered a product under their accounts. Since I purchased Luca's box and didn't purchase her through SonicWire, my registration codes were for the Krypton site. So I had to make an account at the Krypton site and the SonicWire site, and then link the two accounts together after registering my purchase. This is done with the codes on the orange card, but on the opposite side of the Luka V4X and Studio One serial numbers. If you purchased her download version via SonicWire, then this is probably a lot more straightforward for you. After finally getting Piapro Studio up to date, you can get it running by creating a new empty song in your DAW of choice and choosing the Piapro Studio VSTI instrument. This creates a new blank song for you to work with. The first thing you'll want to do is to go to the Help menu and open the manual PDF, which is available in both English and Japanese. But again, like the Vocaloid 4 manual, the English versions assume you will only be working with English voice banks, so they don't include tips on Japanese phoneme input and so forth. So I had a bit of an issue transcribing lyrics for a Japanese children's song, because needs to be its own phoneme, so a syllable like han needs to be broken up as ha plus which I found a bit counterintuitive. What I did was take a MIDI file for the Rolling Acorn song, you might remember it from one of the early Ano Kano demos, and import it into Vocaloid. It placed the notes and set the timing for the track, so all I did was plug in the lyrics. I did not do anything else, so this is extremely basic and unrefined, so don't take it seriously, but here's Yukari's Jun voice bank singing it.
どんぐりころころどんぶりこお池にはまってさ大変土砂が出てきてこんにちはまーちゃん一緒に遊びましょう
Vocaloid projects can be opened in Piapro Studio as you'd imagine, and starting I think from the end of 2013, Piapro Studio has supported non-Krypton Vocaloids. You do have to get some sort of access key to do this for some reason, which means you need to be logged into your SonicWire account, but it's a painless process. Here's Luca's hard voice bank singing the same song.
どんぐりころころどんぶりこお池にはまってさ大変土砂が出てきてこんにちはまーちゃん一緒に遊びましょうどんぐり
It sounds pretty choppy, but I haven't done any refining or tuning yet, so that may be typical. I'm sure I can make it sound much better later. Now, if you're a brand new Vocaloid customer with a fresh Luka V4X installation, or other Krypton Vocaloid product, then you probably don't have the main Vocaloid 3 or 4 editors. In that case, you do at least get Piapro Studio so you can make use of your Vocaloid. Piapro Studio doesn't have the limitations that a light or tiny Vocaloid editor does. You're not restricted by song length or anything like that, which is nice. But if you are going to pick up other Vocaloids, then it's a good idea to get the Vocaloid editor as well, as it seems like a more stable and reliable product at this point. For what it is, Piapro Studio is pretty cool, and it does have some advantages over the Vocaloid editor, like how its pitch curves are drawn automatically versus the Vocaloid editor where you have to redraw the graphs manually anytime you make a change. And of course, if you want to make use of EVEC, then you're better off with Piapro Studio. It is possible to use EVEC in the Vocaloid editor, but there isn't a UI for its features. The various EVEC features basically consist of phoneme codes that you can attach to notes, or replace notes with in the case of releases, to achieve the effects you want. I'll link to a place in the video description where you can get some more information about that. As for me, I've been experiencing a bug in Piapro Studio that discourages me from using it. The text box for lyrics on notes appears blank, and no matter what I do, I can't see any text in it. This doesn't stop me from using the program as the text is entered and saved, but it makes it a real hassle to edit as it often retains pre-existing text when I try to change or add new text. I end up redoing the same note 2 or 3 times to get what I want, and entering multiple notes at the same time is a crapshoot. This happens on both the 64-bit and 32-bit versions, all fully patched up, so I guess I'll just have to wait for another patch. If you're a Vocaloid veteran and you've memorized phoneme codes, then this will be less of an issue for you, as the phoneme entry box doesn't exhibit the same problem for some reason. I do plan to purchase a Western English Vocaloid at some point. I plan to wait for there to be a few V4 English Vocaloids to choose from, so I'll stick with Yukari and Luka for now. They will no doubt give me plenty to do in terms of learning how to use Vocaloid. My next Vocaloid video should be about Cyberdiva, so stay tuned later this week for that. Now, if you'll excuse me, it's Taco Luca's feeding time.